Hey, you're a gym rat, right? Do you have an ED? I know, kind of a forward question, but there's a chance that you do. A 16 to 20% chance to be exact, because it's estimated that 1 in 6 to 1 in 5 active gym goers struggle with ED or DE. It's kind of a crazy statistic to think about, right? I mean, I go to the gym, I look to my left, I look to my right, I look in the mirror, nobody looks like they're struggling, right? But that's the thing with ED and DE. Looks can be very deceiving. Also, I don't wear my glasses to the gym, so even if they do look like they're struggling, I cannot see it. Hey, my name is Dexry, and I'm really scared of this video getting taken down, so I'm going to be using acronyms and vague language wherever I can. But I'm sure if you don't already know them, the context clues will clue you in. You know, I'm not the only one who's noticed this correlation, because there are so many studies and papers about this exact topic. Now, I'm not academic, but I can read. I can't put on glasses in one go, apparently. Oh my goodness, my hair's sticking out, I think. You did not see that. Here is a study that was done on 232 fitness club members, and the researchers behind the study found that 19.4% of them were at risk of DE. Here's a crazy one. This study right here took a look at fitness instructors specifically. 4% of the women said they had an ED. None of the men said they had an ED, right? But it was determined that about 54% of the female instructors and 22% of the male instructors exhibited DE characteristics and behaviors and were at risk. Here is a study that took a look at 100 gym goers and 100 non-gym goers, and researchers used the ironically named EAT26 questionnaire and the SCOFF questionnaire, which are two questionnaires used to determine risk of ED and DE. For the EAT26 questionnaire, which I'm not over that name, like in a sad way, that's kind of hilarious, but for that questionnaire, if you get a score of 20 or more, that's a sign that something may be wrong. Now, the average score for gym goers on this questionnaire was 22.71, whereas for the non-gym goers, it was 11.72. I said I'm no academic, I am also no mathematician, but 22.71 is bigger than 20, and that's kind of a cause for concern. As for the SCOFF questionnaire, it is a 5-question questionnaire, and having a score of 2 or higher is a cause for concern. It could be a potential sign of, and can I say Anna or Mia? Could be either. Can I say that? We're going to find out the hard way if I can say that. As for the SCOFF questionnaire, it is a 5-question questionnaire. If you get a score of 2 or higher, that's cause for concern. That is a sign that you could have Anna. I don't know. Can I say that? Anna or yeah, I don't know if I can say that on here. We're going to find out the hard way. We're also going to find out the hard way if you heard that at all. But in case you can't, I'm naming the shorthand for 2 specific diagnoses. For some reason, the researchers didn't put the scores 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or whatever kind of format like that in the results section. They're using triple digits, and I don't know what to do with those numbers. I said I'm not an academic, and this is where apparently my skills are limited. I have no idea what the fuck is going on, but what I do know is that the gym goers scored higher than the non-gym goers, and looking at the trends, it's probably a bad thing. But all of my sources are linked in the description, as well as some other really cool buttons are down there, you know, just saying. So you're welcome to check out any of my sources yourself. Honestly, pretty interesting reads. And here is a study that talked to some people who work in fitness, and these people who work in fitness are noticing that their clients have some amount of ED or DE. Why is this happening? And how do so many people not know that they have this? Now, you are not going to believe this, but social media might have something to do with it. I know, right? Crazy. Who could have possibly have seen this one coming? Certain EDs have a competitive aspect to them, and this will usually manifest as being like the skinniest or the sickest. But in the gym, this is probably going to manifest more like being the biggest or the most disciplined, you know? Being the guy that always sleeps 8 hours a night and always trains 9 hours a day and eats 2,500 calories a day, but also somehow 4,000 grams of protein. And you're not just comparing yourself to the big guy at your gym anymore, you're comparing yourself to the big guys. You've got your Sam Suleks, your cbums, your David Blades, your Jeff Nippard and Tren twins, and your Ronnie Colemans, and all of that, all these huge guys who are inspirations for gym rats, both literally because they're fucking huge and metaphorically because they're just really big inspirations. Now, this might be a controversial thing to say, but comparing your physique to people's online is actually totally okay and sometimes even a good thing, but you have to compare properly. Like, you just can't be doing apples and oranges, okay? Here's a picture of David Lade with a great pump and amazing lighting, and if that's me, that's my Instagram picture, okay? And here's another picture of David Lade where he's got terrible lighting and probably does not have a pump, and if that's me, that's not going on my Instagram feed. That's not even making my story, let alone my Instagram picture. If you're not a 6'2" man who's an avid gym goer, don't compare yourself to David Lade. And if you are for a second going to compare your gym pictures to someone else's gym pictures, you better be comparing your pump pictures to their pump pictures, and you better be comparing good lighting pictures with good lighting pictures, or vice versa. Compare a crappy, pumpless, terrible lighting picture with a crappy, pumpless, terrible lighting picture from an influencer. Also, it is David Lade's job to be shredded, and same goes for all these fitness influencers. It is their job to be shredded, and I don't say that to like try and demean their work or anything or discredit them, because they are incredibly hardworking individuals. You can see it on them. They bust their ass, and that's incredibly impressive. But it is their job, and it is probably not your job, which means they have a lot more time to dedicate to this than you probably do. So, for example, if you were to take a 5'3" woman with an office job and compare her pumpless pictures to David Lade's pump pictures, that's not even apples and oranges. That's apples and fucking beavers at that point. Okay, now we've established you can compare responsibly, but what if you're being lied to? What if somebody is fake natty? Now we've got a brand new problem. We've got someone who is completely natty and possibly shitting all over themselves and their work and their progress, and completely discrediting themselves because they're comparing themselves to someone who claims to be natty but in fact called them a car the way they've got gear. Comparison is a dangerous game, and being misinformed will totally screw you over. Also, can we take a moment for physique inflation, because that is crazy. Okay, that is ridiculous. Here's a picture of Hugh Jackman when he first played Wolverine. I think it was in 2000, right? And I distinctly remember hearing people, in real life, being quite impressed by him. A little bit after the fact, because I was born in 2005, but people referenced Hugh Jackman in the original Avengers as looking great, okay? This was awesome, great physique, and this is him most recently in Wolverine versus Deadpool. Or was it what the fuck was that movie called? Whatever, the Deadpool and Wolverine one. I actually did watch it, and it was a very, very good movie. Both of these physiques are superhero physiques. They have both been considered to be amazing physiques, but we can see there's a bit of a difference, right? And the standards for a good physique have absolutely skyrocketed beyond what's feasible for most people. And I don't even mean feasible in terms of what's humanly possible. I mean what's feasible in terms of being able to upkeep and being able to balance with the rest of your life, because not everybody has a crazy amount of time to invest in the gym, but they still love the gym, and they're still going to feel kind of awful because they don't look like this, even though it's completely unreasonable for them to look like this. Also, can we talk about the inflation for standards for a good lift? Because that's crazy. Okay, I used to see pretty commonly people talking about their 2 15-pound benches and how that was really amazing, and how that's such a good milestone. And that is amazing. And that is such a good milestone. And that is something to be incredibly proud of. But now I see, a few 215 benches. I don't even see that many of them anymore. And oftentimes there's comments saying that it's not really that impressive. And I'm sure some comments are rage bait, but there's no way they're all rage bait. Some of them seem real. To be clear, 2 15-pound bench is incredibly impressive. If you can do that, you should be really proud of yourself. That's amazing, assuming you're under 200 pounds, obviously. If you're 400 pounds, a 2 15-pound bench isn't as impressive. But the fact that you're 400 pounds and getting into gym, that's impressive, and I'm super proud of you and happy for you, and I hope you find great enjoyment out of the gym. So no matter what, I'm impressed. One thing about having an illness, whether it be physical or mental, is that typically you need to know it's there to treat it. The demographic most affected by ED and DE is women and girls aged 12 to 25. So if you're going to think of your typical person who deals with either of these things, you're not going to think of some super jacked gym bro, you're probably going to think of a teenage girl. And because of that, there are plenty of people in the gym, but particularly plenty of dudes in the gym who are silently struggling with ED and DE, and they may not even be aware of it themselves. I'm going to stay on topic. I'm not going to go off topic. But the demonization of femininity in society is really a problem, because obviously that mostly hurts women, but it also hurts men too. If men are into something more feminine or struggle with something usually considered to be a more feminine struggle, they may get shamed or may feel shame themselves. And demonization of femininity and how it affects women is a conversation for another day. But how it affects everyone is a conversation for right now. Have you ever noticed how tomboys are always seen as like really cool, which they are, but guys who are into feminine things are always like made fun of? Think about it. And all that culminates in guys who have EDs really like struggling a lot. They may not be able to come to terms with them because they feel shamed themselves. They may not be able to, seek out help because they're worried about being shamed by other people. So like you've got this whole petri dish, or petri dish, depends on how you like to say it, but you've got this dish full of factors contributing to body dysmorphia, image issues, comparison, a bajillion other things. And then in some communities, you're not even allowed to struggle with it. How the hell is anybody supposed to get better? Now, the more observant of you may have noticed a smidge wee little problem, counting calories and macros obsessively and having a really strict workout regime and really keeping a track of your body. That is ED and DE behavior. But it's also not ED and DE behavior. It's a very thin line to walk between ED and gymrat. And some people do just walk that line a lot better than others. A big thing of what will determine if something's an ED versus a gymrat behavior is the intent behind it. But I don't know the intent behind your actions. You might not even know the intent behind your actions. Who knows? Subconscious is crazy, okay? Okay, well, this is kind of awkward because I don't really know what to say here, which is odd because usually I can't shut the fuck up. That's why I make videos. I'm not the one to be giving out advice here. I'm just the one who read a few studies. But I suppose the responsible thing to tell you would be to keep an eye on yourself and your fellow gymrats, because ED comes in all shapes and sizes, and there really is no shame in struggling. I don't know why it sounds like I'm trying to sell you on this. I'm not trying to sell you on having an ED, okay? I don't have a scammy tea to sell. Okay, well, moral of the story is check out these awesome sweatpants I just got. They're like shark bite ones. They're so cool. I love them so much. And they've got 5 pockets. If you wear women's clothes, okay, you know how big of a deal 5 pockets is. And they're real pockets as well. Like you can actually fit stuff in here. They're incredible. I love them. Yes, okay, well, that is all from me. Thank you so much for watching. Hearts, kisses, but platonically. I have a boyfriend. You should subscribe though.